Greetings, mandolin enthusiasts. There was a question posed to me which was, does Bill Monroe ever use the chicken finger chords? And while the answer is yes, it's hard to say that he actually used them the same way that I demonstrated in a previous video. I've found that it's good for me to try to be able to play 1-4-5-1 in the most efficient way for the left hand, which is without changing positions. However, I don't think Bill Monroe did that. He did use this chord, and he probably did this to move up to the D chord, which there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, if he did it. When you do it this way, 1-4-5-1, you have to do some jumping around to go 1-5-1. And the pinky is hard to develop, it's a pain, but the more you do this chord, this progression, 1-5-1, if you work on that a lot, it can be done. Those chords are great, and I use them all the time, and there's a reason that they're such a standard in the bluegrass, specifically the bluegrass world. Well, there's a couple reasons that I can think of right off the bat here. One of them is whether you're going or they're easy shapes to see and to transfer up the neck to make it to where you can go up to B flat or B and play a lot of progressions very quickly and easily and have the flexibility to do different keys. It's kind of like the capo of the mandolin. When you go to a jam or something, the songs are keyed around the singer, so you could end up playing a song that you usually play in G up in B flat or A or B or whatever. So it's good. It's a good tool in that sense. It's also, even more than that, it's the foundational skeletal structure, the way this chord in particular, this one chord, and even more in particular than that, these three here, as they move around the neck to become different chords, but this shape is very important when it comes to playing those iconic bluegrass licks. I use those chords a lot, but I also don't use those chords a lot. Once I learned a little bit of music theory, it helped me to connect the dots and realize that I didn't need to learn chords out of the book, that I could just figure them out myself. Now you can figure it out by me explaining this to you without knowing music theory. You can look at these three chords that you know, G, C, and D. So let's look at the notes that we have here. G, D, B, G. Now let's look at the C chord. G. We have a common tone there. E, C, and E. C, E, G. The notes of the D chord are A, D, A, and F sharp. Now, as long as we're talking about a G major chord, a C major chord, a D major chord, and a G major chord, as long as we're talking about those chords, those notes that you wrote down will never change. So you can go find any G, B, and D up the fretboard, and they will all be G chords. Same goes with the notes of the C chord and the notes of the D chord. Now, to loop this back to Bill Monroe, not only did Bill Monroe use this chord all the time when he played in G, but so does David Grisman and many other people. It's people do those chords and accomplish the chop sound by employing other techniques, whether it's the damping with this. But that's really a combination of this and this. See how I'm following through with my another reason it's important to follow through. I'm following through, but I'm then there's also these chords that I like to use all the time too, which are if you study other styles of mandolin than bluegrass, you'll find that they play two-note chords all the time, but you can also create that good old bluegrass backbeat chop with them. So what I'm doing here is I'm playing the B and the G. And if you want, you can play that D. So now remember how I said C and G have that common tone of G? If you take this B and move it up there, part of that C chord, but you're playing just those two notes. This D, just play those two notes. You've got those chords. You've also got this G. Let's just focus on G for a second. So G, and then you can play D and G right here. D and G, D and G. So this would be a modal chord because it has no third in it. So you could play that over G or G minor. Don't be afraid of trying different chords other than the chicken finger chords, because there's tons of options out there and they all can be made to work. All right. See you soon.